to read Esio Trot. Mr. Hoppy lived in a small flat high up in a tall concrete building. He lived alone. He had always been a lonely man, and now that he was retired from work, he was more lonely than ever. There were two loves in Mr. Hoppy's life. One was the flowers he grew on his balcony. They grew in pots and tubes and buckets, and in summer the little balcony became a riot of color. Mr. Hoppy's second love was a secret he kept entirely to himself. The balcony immediately below Mr. Hoppy's generated out a gold bit further from the building than his own, so Mr. Hoppy always had a fine view of what was going on down there. The balconies belonged to an attractive middle-aged lady called Mrs. Silver. Miss Silver was a widow who lived alone, and although she didn't know it, it was she who was the object of Mr. Hoppy's second secret love. He had loved her from his balcony for many years, but he was a very shy man, and he had never been able to bring himself to give her even the smallest hint of his love. Every morning, Mr. Hoppy and Miss Silver exchanged polite conversation. The one looked down from above, the other looking up, but that was far as it was ever went. The distance between their balconies might not have more than a few yards, but to Mr. Hoppy it seemed like a million of a tea and a biscuit. But every time he was about to form the words on his lips, courage failed him. As I said, he was a very, very shy man. Oh, if only, he kept telling himself, if only he could do something tremendous like saving her life or rescuing her from a gang of armed men. If only he could perform some great feat that is make him a hero in her eyes. If only. The trouble was, Mrs. Silver was that she gave her love to somebody else, and that somebody was the small tortoise called Alfie. Every day when Mr. Hoppy looked over his balcony and saw Mrs. Silver whispering admonitions to Alfie, he stroking his shell, he felt absolutely jealous. He wouldn't even have minded become a tortoise himself if it meant Mrs. Silver stroking his shell each morning and whispering admonitions to him. Alfie had been with Mrs. Silver for years, and he lived on her balcony summer and winter. Planks had been placed around the sides of a balcony so that Alfie could walk about without toppling over the edge. And in one corner there was a little house to which Alfie could crawl every night to keep warm. When the colder weather came along in November, Mrs. Silver would fill Alfie's house with dry hay, and the tortoise would crawl in there and bury himself deep under the hay and go sleep for months and without food or water. This is called hibernating. In early spring, when Alfie put warmer weather to his shell, he would wake up and crawl very slowly out of his house onto the balcony, when Mrs. Silver would clap her hands with joy and cry out, "Welcome back, my darling one! Oh, how I have missed you!" It was at times like these that Mr. Hoppy wished more than ever that he could change places with Alfie and become a tortoise. Now we can come to the kindergarten bright in the morning in May when something happened that changed and in fact Mr. Hoppy's life. He was learning over his balcony rail, watching Mrs. Silver shaving Alfie's his breakfast. "Here's the heart in the letters for you, my lovely," she was saying. "And here's a slice of fresh tomato and a piece of crispy celery." "Good morning, Mr. Silver," Mr. Hoppy said. "Alfie's looking well this morning." "Isn't he gorgeous?" Mrs. Silver said, looking up and beaming at him. "Absolutely gorgeous," Mr. Hoppy said, not mentioning it, and now as he looked down at Mrs. Silver's smiling face gazing up to his own, he thought for 1,000 times how pretty she was, how sweet and gentle and full of kindness, and his heart ached with joy. "I do so wish he'd grow a little faster," Mrs. Silver was saying. "Every spring, when he wakes up from his winter sleep, I weigh him on the kitchen scales. And do you know that all in 11 years I've had him, he's not getting more than 3 ounces? That's almost nothing." "What does he weigh now?" Mr. Hoppy asked her. "Just 13 ounces," Mrs. Silver answered. "About as much as a grapefruit." Well, tortoises are very slow growers," Mr. Hoppy said solemnly, "but they can live for 100 years. "I know that," Mrs. Silver said, "but I do so wish he would grow just a little bit bigger. He's such a teeny wee fellow." "He seems just fine as he is," Mr. Hoppy said. "No, he's not just fine," Mrs. Silver cried. "Try to think how miserable it might make him to feel be so tiny. Everyone wants to grow up." "You really would love him to grow a bigger, wouldn't you?" Mr. Hoppy said. And even as he had its mind, suddenly went click, and an amazing idea came rushing into his head. "Of course I would," Mrs. Silver cried. "I'd give anything to make it happen. Why, I've seen pictures of giant tortoises that are so huge people can ride on their backs. If Alfie was to see those, he'd turn green with envy." Mr. Hoppy's mind was spinning like a flying wheel. Here surely he was a big chance. "Grab it," he told himself. "Grab it quick." "Mrs. Silver," he said, "I do actually happen to know how to make tortoises grow faster, if that's really what you want." "You do?" she cried. "Oh, please tell me. I am feeding him the wrong things." "I worked in North America once," Mr. Hoppy said. "That's where all these tortoises in England came from, and Bandit Timlin told me the secret." "Tell me!" cried Mr. Silver. "I beg you to tell me, Mr. Hoppy. I'll be your slave for your life." When he heard the word "your slave for life," a little shiver of excitement swept through Mr. Hoppy's. "Wait there," he said. "I'll have you to go in there and write something down for you." In a couple of minutes, Mr. Hoppy was back on the balcony with a sheet of paper in his hand. "I'm going to lower it to you on a little bit of strength," he said, "or it might blow away. Here it comes." Mrs. Silver caught the paper and held it up in front of her. This is what she read. Esio, Trot, Teg, Rubbing. Emo, no, Esio, Trot. raw poo, flop poo, tooth poo, guard poo, warp poo, lizard poo, igro, eliza, front, plug, top, no, taff, Esio trot, top, no, taff, tag, no, illabub, doof. What does it mean? She asked. Is it another language? It's tortoise language, Mr. Hoppy said. Tortoises are very backward creatures. Therefore, they can only understand words that are written backwards. That's obvious, isn't it? I suppose so, Mrs. Silver said, Benwit. Esio Trot is simply tortoise spelled backwards. Mr. Hoppy said, Look at it. So it is, Mrs. Silver said. The other words are spelled backwards too, Mr. Hoppy said. If you turn them around into human language, they simply say, Tortoise, tortoise, get bigger, bigger. Come on, tortoise. Grow up, puff up, shoot up, spring up, blow up, swallow up. Gorge, gruzzle, stuff, glop. Put on fat, tortoise, put on fat. Get on, gobble food. Mrs. Silver smaced the magic words on the paper most closely. I guess you're right, she said. How clever. But there's an awful lot of poos in it. Are they something special? Poo is a very strong word in any language, Mr. Hoppy said, especially with tortoises. Now what you have to do, Mrs. Silver, is hold Alfie up to your face and whisper these words to see 3 times a day. Morning, noon, and night. Let me hear you practice them. Very slowly and stumbling a little over the strange words, Mrs. Silver read the whole message out loud in tortoise language. Not bad, Mr. Hoppy said, but try to get a little more expression into it when you say it to Alfie. If you don't do it properly, I'll bet you anything you like that in a few months' time he'll be twice as big as he is now. I'll try it, Mrs. Silver said. I try anything. Of course I'll try, but I can't believe it'll work. You wait and see, Mr. Hoppy said, smiling at her. Back in his flat, Mr. Hoppy was simply quivering all over the excitement. Your slave for life, he kept repeating to himself. What a bliss. But there was a lot of work to be done before that happened. The only furniture in Mr. Hoppy's small living room was a table and 2 chairs. These he moved into his bedroom. Then he went out and bought a sheet of thick canvas and spread it over an entire living room flat to protect his carpet. Next, he got out the telephone book and read down the address of every pet shop in the city. There were 14 of them altogether. It took him 2 days to visit each pet shop and choose his tortoises. He wanted a great many, at least 100, perhaps more, and he had to choose them very carefully. To you and me, there is not much difference between one tortoise and another. They differ only in the size and in the color of their shells. Alfie had the darkest shell, so Mr. Hoppy chose only the darkest shells. Tortoises were his great collection. Size, of course, was everything. Mr. Hoppy chose of sorts of different sizes, some weighing only slightly more than Alfie's 13 ounces, others a great deal more, but he didn't want any of that weight less. Feed them cabbage leaves, the pet shop owner told them. That's all they need, and a bowl of water. When he had finished, Mr. Hoppy and his assignment had brought no less than 140 tortoises, and he carried them home in baskets, 10 or 15 at a time. He had to make it a lot of trips, and he was quite exhausted at the end of it all, but it was worth it. Boy, was it worth it. And what an amazing sight his living room was when they were all in together. The floor was swarming with tortoises of different sizes, some walking slowly about and exploring, some munching cabbage leaves, and others drinking water from a big shallow dish. They made just the furthest rushing sound, and they moved over to the canvas sheet. But that was all. Mr. Hoppy had to pick his way carefully on these toes between this moving sea of brown shells wherever he walked around the room. But enough of that. He must get on with the job. Before he retired, Mr. Hoppy had been a machine in a bus garage, and now he went back to his old place of work and asked his mate if he might use his old bench for an hour or two. What he had to do now was to make something that would reach down from its own balcony to Mrs. Silver's balcony and pick up a tortoise. This was not difficult for a mechanic like Mr. Hoppy. First, he made two metal claws or fingers, and these he added to the end of the long metal tube. He ran two stiff wires inside the tube and connected them to the metal claws such a way that you pulled the wires. The claws closed when you pushed them. The claws opened, the wires joined into a handle in the other end of the tube. It was very simple. Mr. Hoppy was ready to begin. Mrs. Silver had a part-time job. She worked from noon until 5 o'clock every weekend afternoon in the shop that sold newspapers and sweets. That made things a lot easier for Mr. Hoppy. So on the first afternoon, after he had made sure that Mrs. Silver had gone to work, Mr. Hoppy went out to his balcony armed with his long metal pole. He called his tortoise catcher, leaned over to the balcony, raising and lowering the pole down onto Mr. Silver's balcony below. Alfie was basking the pale sunlight of the one side. "Hello, Alfie," Mr. Hoppy said. "You are about to go for a little ride." He wagged the tortoise catcher till it was right above Alfie. He pushed the handle lower so that claws opened wide. Then he lowered the two claws neatly over Alfie's shell and pulled them lower. The claws closed tightly over the shell like two fingers of a hand. He handled Alfie up to his own balcony. It was easy. Mr. Hoppy weighed Alfie on his kitchen table, just to make sure that Mrs. Silver's figure of 13 ounces was correct. It was. Now, holding Alfie in one hand, he picked up his way carefully through his huge collection of tortoises to find one that first of a hand the same color shell as Alfie's, and secondly weighed exactly 2 ounces more. 2 ounces is not much. It's less than a smallish hand's egg weighs. But you see, the important thing in Mr. Hoppy's plan to make sure that the new tortoise was bigger than Alfie, but only a tiny bit bigger. The difference had to be so small that Mrs. Silver wouldn't notice it. From his best collection, it was not difficult for Mr. Hoppy to find those tortoises he wanted. He wanted one of that weighed 15 ounces exactly on his kitchen scales. No more and no less. When he had got it, he pulled out the kitchen table's banner. Alfie and even he could hardly tell if one was bigger than another. But it was bigger. It was bigger by 2 ounces. That was tortoise number 2. Mr. Hoppy took tortoise number 2 out onto the balcony and gripped the claws of his tortoise catcher. Then he lowered it onto Mrs. Silver's balcony, right beside a nice fresh lettuce. Tortoise number 2 had never eaten tender, juicy lettuce leaves before. It had only had thick old cabbage leaves. It loved the lettuce and started chomping away it with great gusto. There followed in a rather nervous 2 hours wait for Mrs. Silver to return from work. She seen any difference between the new tortoise and Alfie? It was going to be a tense moment. Out onto a balcony swept Mrs. Silver. "Alfie, my darling," she cried out, "Mummy's back. Have you missed me?" Mr. Hoppy, peering over his railing, but well hidden between the 2 huge pointed plants, held his breath. The new tortoise was still chomping away at the lettuce. My, Alfie, you do seem hungry today," Mrs. Silver was saying. "It must be Mr. Hoppy's magic words I've been whispering to you." Mr. Hoppy watched as Mrs. Silver picked up the tortoise up and shook his tail. Then he flashed Mr. Hoppy's piece of paper out of a pocket, and holding the tortoise very close to her face, she whispered, reading from the paper, "Esio, Trot, tag, ragged, Emcock, no, Esio, Trot, wrong, poo, flop, poo, troops, poo, gurnip, poo, rubble, poo, livso, poo, eagle, ison, flots, plock, top, no, taff, Esio, Trot, top, no, taff, tack, no, libok, doof." Mr. Hoppy popped his head out of the fogging and called out, "Good evening, Mr. Silver. How is Alfie tonight?" "Oh, he's lovely," Mrs. Silver said, looking up at the beam. "And he's developing such an appetite. I've never seen him eat like this before. It must have been the magic words." "You never know," Mr. Hoppy said darkly. "You never know." Mr. Hoppy waited 7 whole days before he made his next move. On the afternoon of the 7th day, when Mrs. Silver was at work, he lifted tortoise number 2 from the balcony below and brought it to his living room. Number 2 had weighed exactly 15 ounces. He must now find that weighed exactly 17 ounces. 2 ounces small. From its enormous collection, he easily found a 17 ounces tortoise, and once again he made sure the shell matched its color. Then he lured tortoise number 3 onto Mr. Silver's balcony. As you will have guessed by now, Mr. Hoppy's secret was a very simple one. If a creature grows slowly enough, I mean very, very slowly indeed, then you'll never notice that it had grown at all, especially if you see it every day. It's the same with children. They are actually growing taller every week, but their mothers never notice it until they grow out of their clothes. Slowly does Mr. Hoppy told himself, "Don't hurry it." So this is how things went up to the next 8 weeks. In the beginning, Alfie weighed 13 ounces, and the first week, tortoise number 2 weighed 15 ounces. In the second week, tortoise no 3 weighed 17 ounces. And the third week, tortoise number 4 weighed 19 ounces. And the fourth week, tortoise number 5 weighed 21 ounces. And the fifth week, tortoise number 6 weighed 23 ounces. And the sixth week, tortoise number 7 weighed 25 ounces. And the 7th week, tortoise no 5 weighed 27 ounces. Alfie's weighed at the 13 ounces. Tortoise number 8 was 27 ounces. Very slowly over 7 weeks, Mrs. Silver had more than double their size, and the good lady hadn't noticed a thing. Even to Mr. Hoppy, peering down over his raising, tortoise number 8 looked pretty big. It was amazing that Mrs. Silver had hardly noticed anything at darling all the great options. Only once had she looked up and said, "You know, Mr. Hoppy, I do believe he's getting a bit bigger. What do you think?" "I can't see a lot of difference myself," Mr. Hoppy answered casually. But now perhaps it was time to call a little hot, and that everything Mr. Hoppy was just about to go out and suggest to Mrs. Silver that she ought to weigh Alfie, when a startled cry from the balcony below brought him out fast. "Look!" Mr. Silver was shouting. "Alfie's too big to get through the door of his little house. He must have been grown enormously." "Weigh him," Mr. Hoppy ordered. "Take him and weigh him quick." Mrs. Silver did just that, and in half a minute she was back holding the tortoise in both hands and waving it above her head and shouting, "Guess what, Mr. Hoppy? Guess what? He weighs 27 ounces. He's twice as big as he was before." "Oh, you darling," she cried, stroking the tortoise. "Oh, you great, big, wonderful boy. I just look at clever Mr. Hoppy had done for you." Mr. Hoppy, shocked, suddenly felt very brave. "Mr. Silver," he said, "do you think I could pop down to your balcony and hold Alfie myself?" "Why, of course you can," Mrs. Silver cried. "Come down at once." Mr. Hoppy rushed down to the stairs, and Mr. Silver opened the door to him. Together they went out into the balcony. "Just look at him," Mrs. Silver said proudly. "Isn't he grand? He's the big, good-sized tortoise now," Mr. Hoppy said. "And you did it," Mrs. Silver cried. "You're a miracle man, you are indeed." "But what am I going to do about his house?" Miss Silver said. "He must have a house to go into the night." but now he can't get through the door. They were standing in the balcony looking at the tortoise, who was trying to push his way into his house, but he was too big. "I shall have to enlarge the door," Mrs. Silver said. "Don't do that," Mrs. Silver said. "You mustn't go chomping up such a pretty little house." After all, he only needs to be just a tiny bit smaller, and he could get in easily. "How can he possibly get smaller?" Mrs. Silver asked. "That's simple," Mr. Hoppy said. "Change the magic words. Instead of telling him to get bigger and bigger, tell him to get a bit smaller. But in tortoise language, of course. Will that work?" "Of course it will work." "Tell me exactly what I have to say, Mr. Hoppy." Mr. Hoppy got a piece of paper and a pencil and wrote, Esio, Trot, take a tip rillums. "That'll do it, Mr. Silver," he said, handing her the paper. "I don't mind trying it," Mrs. Silver said. "But look here, I wouldn't want him to get tinsy small all over again, Mr. Hoppy." "He won't, dear lady, he won't," Mr. Hoppy said. "Say it only tonight and tomorrow morning, and then see what happens. We might be lucky." "If it works," Mr. Silver said, touching him softly on the arm, "then you are the cleverest man alive." The next afternoon, as soon as Mrs. Silver had gone to work, Mr. Hoppy lifted the tortoise up from their balcony and carried it inside. All he had to do now is to find one of that shade smaller, so that it would just go through the door of the little house. He chose one and lowered it down with his tortoise catcher. Then, still gripping the tortoise, he tasted to see how it would go through the door. It wouldn't. He chose another. Again he tested it. This one went through nicely. Good. He placed the tortoise in the middle of the balcony beside a nice piece of lettuce and went inside to await Mr. Silver's homecoming. That evening, Mr. Hoppy was reading his plants on the balcony, and suddenly he heard Mr. Silver shout from below, sharing with excitement. "Mr. Hoppy, where are you?" She was shouting. "Just look at this!" Mr. Hoppy popped his head over his railing and said, "What's up?" "Oh, Mr. Hoppy, it worked!" She was crying. "Your magic words have been worked again on Alfie. He can now get through the door of his little house." "It's a miracle!" "Can I come down and look?" Mr. Hoppy shouted back. "Come down at once, my dear man," Mrs. Silver answered. "Come down and see what wonders you have worked upon my darling Alfie." Mr. Hoppy turned and ran from the balcony into the living room, jumping on the tiptoe like a belt dancer between the sea of the tortoise that confused the flow. He flung open his front door and fell up the stairs 2 times with a lump sing-songs of a thousand Cupid ringing in his ears. "This is it," he whispered to himself under his breath. "The greatest moment of my life is coming up now. I mustn't push it. I must keep very calm." When he was 3/4 down the stairs, he had signed up Mrs. Silver, already standing open the door, waiting to welcome him with a huge smile on the face. She flung her arms around him and cried out, "You really are the most wonderful man I've ever met. You can do anything. Come in and at once and let you make me a cup of tea." That's the very last you deserve. Seated a comfortable armchair in Mrs. Silver's parlour sipping his tea. Mr. Hoppy was all of in a twist. He looked at the lovely lady sitting upon him like to smile at her. She smiled right back at him. That smile of hers, so warm and friendly, suddenly gave him the courage he needed, and he said, "Mrs. Silver, please will you marry me?" "Why, Mr. Hoppy," she cried, "I didn't think you'd ever get round to asking me. Of course I'll marry you." Mr. Hoppy got rid of his teacup, and two of them stood up and embraced warmly in the middle of the room. "It's all due to Alfie," Mrs. Silver said, slightly breathless. "Good old Alfie," Mr. Hoppy said. "We'll keep him forever." The next afternoon, Mr. Hoppy took all his other tortoises back to the pet shops and said they could have them for nothing. Then he cleaned up his living room, leaving not a leaf of cabbage not on a trace of tortoise. A few weeks later, Mr. Silver became Mr. Hoppy, and the two of them lived happily ever after. The end. Thanks for enjoying this video, and please subscribe to our channel. Bye!